Not many people out there, including within the real estate industry in the community, even understand that the rate cut has already been baked in to where we're at today. We're actually going to get a rise in rates.
You may still be able to refinance, but it's not 0.5% less today. It just depends on what they say. We're already expecting a full percent by the end of the year. So unless they really indicate it's going to be a whole lot different, the market anticipates these things.
Right.
JMJ Financial, the podcast.
Thanks for coming in.
Yeah, you bet.
It'll be fun.
Yeah.
We'll jump right into the heavy subject, right?
Right.
Fed cut yesterday. We got 50 basis points off the board. What does that mean? What do you think?
Yeah, what's interesting is not many people out there, including within the real estate industry in the community, even understand that the rate cut has already been baked in to where we're at today. As a matter of fact, even the future rate cuts are already baked in to where interest rates are at. So even yesterday, there was a slight rise in rates, and today, day after, stock market's going bananas. And usually now we're back to normal. When the stock market goes well, they're pulling their money out of long-term assets like bonds. But when the stock market goes down, and it's going to be on negative news now the news cycles really make sense to where the stock market's going and where bonds are going. So today we're actually going to get a rise in rates. And we got a little one yesterday. So it's contrary to what everybody is thinking out there.
Right. Yeah. I got a text this morning, tons of texts yesterday. Can I refinance? It's 0.5% less. It's like, you may still be able to refinance, but it's not 0.5% less today. And leading into it, I mean, it's so hard to play fortune teller, even though you do that professionally. But, you say it just depends on what they say. We're already expecting a full percent by the end of the year. So unless they really indicate it's going to be a whole lot different, the market anticipates these things.
Right.
So I think Ryan Serhant said it was going to be a nothing burger. And I think that's more or less what we got, at least for mortgage rates.
Yeah, I was hoping for a half, but I wasn't hoping for the language that that Chair Powell utilized, and even in the Q&A. If he went a quarter point, he would have had to justify why they only went a quarter point, and don't worry, they'll do more. And that would have set off a different tone than we went a half a point, and the economy isn't as bad as what everybody thinks. We're not going to go into recession. We're just kind of like doing a recalibration, and we're on track for the soft landing. There's going to be no recession. And that is what has given the market a little bit of leverage for equities to go up, and for the long-term bonds to people don't want to purchase them yesterday and today. We're going to have to wait for more news going forward as to where it's at, because right now they're actually projecting two more rate cuts. They're meeting 2 more times for the rest of the year, so we'll be down a full percent, and then a full percent next year. But like I said, a lot of this is still baked into where we're at today. In order for them to go down further down the road, we'll have to see some more of the news come out negative for the economy. And at that point, then we'll get some easing further in rates, but it's not here yet.
Yeah, I was really surprised to see a half. I know that's what was forecasted. I know the market, I think it was 65% going into it, but just with what they've done, they've been so slow and steady. I was thinking it's going to be a quarter, and the market's been wrong before, right? Because what was it at the start of the year? It was 100% chance we were going to see cuts in May, and that clearly didn't happen. So little surprised, at least for me, to see the full half, but I think that it doesn't matter. It was just the fact that we're moving in that direction now. And I think it's really counterintuitive to people that, wait, you say that higher unemployment is a good thing? Or like, how does that work, right? So, but it's all just working towards whatever goal they have, which is slowing the economy down and slowing down inflation.
Yeah, and now they know inflation's coming down, regardless of what everybody says out there. That's been something that a lot of people have been talking about. Inflation really hasn't come down. No, you're still paying more for that. I use the term margarita because everybody can understand when you order margaritas.
I know the market price of that. Yeah,
used to be $12. Now it's $15 for a margarita, and people. It's still going to be 15. It's just not going to go to 20. It's going to stay at 15. And it might go up a tiny bit, like $15.50, let's call it. But over time, that's normal inflation. 2% inflation as it goes up 2% per year. for what they see as inflation, what they say, well, when inflation's back under control, the general public and everybody out there thinks that $15 margarita needs to go back down to 12 or down to 13 or down something. That's not what that's called deflation. And that's not what we want. That's actually not good for the economy. So they're rooting for the wrong thing. So inflation, actually, that genie is getting back into the bottle. And everybody looks at CPI as that gauge of inflation. That's not the best gauge. The best gauge out there is actually PCE. That's Personal Consumption Expenditures Index. That's what the Fed actually likes. And that's getting more towards that 2%. So it's making their way, and they'll get there. They need to get there. They need to start cutting rates before the economy, just totally implodes.
Right.
So that's what they're doing. They're trying to mitigate the damage from being so restrictive with these high rates, and that's why they've chosen to go. And I thought that they should have gone 0.5%, only because they should have gone 0.25% back in July.
Yeah.
And they know it. During the Q&A, Chair Powell actually said, they admitted that had they known what that figure was going to be for jobs 2 days later, they would have actually probably gone 0.25 point.
Yeah.
And that was them saying, yeah, we were a little bit late to the party.
Yeah, I definitely don't envy their job, because I think the other piece that maybe the general public doesn't know is that this is a big, slow-moving boat, right?
Sure.
Because you cut rates and you're like, what's going to happen? Like, I'll tell you in 6 months how it went, right? Let's see if we were early or late, or if it was right. On the inflation thing, somebody explained it to me that's not in the industry that I thought was a good way to put it for someone that's not familiar, is that with inflation, if you say that inflation has come down, you can compare it to gaining weight, right? So it's not that you've lost weight. It's not that you're no longer gaining weight. It's just you're gaining weight at a slower pace. Yeah. And I feel like that resonates for some people. Yeah.
That's perfect. That's a great analogy.
Yeah. So rates are down, but we should all still be waiting to buy a home until they're down and hit the bottom, right?
Yeah, right. Wrong. That's why everybody flooded yesterday. They went on to, there's a national, they do a survey of all of rates across the country, and it's Mortgage News Daily. And actually it was up for the day, like I said, slightly. And after Jerome Powell finished the Q&A, I tried to go into that. I couldn't even access it because everybody and their brother was accessing it thinking, oh, rates are down 0.5%. And that's where they're just wrong.
Yeah.
And like I said, they're already baked into there. When should you purchase? When you're able to purchase. They should be meeting with you at JMJ Financial. They, meet with a mortgage professional and find out how much you qualify for. And if it meets your family's budget, then pull the trigger. I can't answer if it's a good time for you to purchase. I can tell you right now that it is a good time to purchase, because as rates continue to drive lower, which, after we get past I think even by the end of the year, we could be into the 5s. And then the further we get down into the 5s, it's going to load up against the spring market in 2025, where there's going to be less inventory, because inventory will have peaked out, come down, and it'll come down to a place. And now all of a sudden you have interest rates in the 5s. Well, we haven't been there since 2022.
Yeah.
So that'll be in 2025. That'll be 3 years prior. So then all of a sudden it will be off to the races, and there'll be a lot more demand. There'll be competition, and then values will start going up. So when do you think is a good time to purchase? I'd say right now. And then the rule of thumb is when interest rates are 1% less than what your rate is that you are locked in at, and that you're making a monthly payment on. Once they go down a full percent, they need to contact you again, because now it's time to refinance. They refinance, and they're going to be saving hundreds of dollars per month by refinancing once rates come down just 1% from what they locked in at. So they're locking in now prior to values going up.
Yeah. I think right now we're in like that sweet spot of the market where rates have come down a little more affordable, but seasonally we still have pretty high inventory, and just seasonally we should expect to see that come down. And it's just a supply and demand thing, right? So if we have less supply but more demand from lower rates, we're probably going to see home prices go up for people. So it's like, now's as good a time as any.
Yeah, I've actually described this as the most buyer-friendly market in years. Right now, it's actually for the middle of September. It is the best middle of September we're in Orange County, for Orange County since 2019.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that has to do with market speed. So the amount of homes that are out there, you can actually take your time a bit as a buyer. That's going to go away. It's going to go away because I actually took the numbers today, because I take it every Thursday for my own YouTube videos that we do, just to understand what's going on in the marketplace on a weekly basis, and where the market looks like it's about to peak in the inventory. So this is the sweet spot. From here, inventory will slowly go down after we peak. And then once we get to the holidays, inventory plummets. The fewest homes come on the market in December, second fewest in November, which will line up for very little inventory at the start of 2025. So when is the best time? Right now, it's like it is the most buyer-friendly market in a while, where we finally have some inventory. And I think we're going to have a problem with inventory next year again. So sweet spot right now.
Yeah, I think so. CAR has a really cool graph because they put out all this data, right? And you can see the median home price and how it goes in this nice little wave, but it also goes up. So if you compare February to February, previous February is usually lower, right?
Right.
And January and February do tend to have the lowest median home price. But going back to what you were saying, you got to live in the place. It's got to fit you and your family. You hopefully like it, right? And especially around here, you can spend $500,000 on it. So my encouragement to people is always, don't get so caught up in the financial part. Is clearly important, but 5 years from now, 10 years from now, is $10,000 in purchase price going to be different if you're waiting till January and February, because that's when prices are seasonally the lowest, but there's nothing on the market and you can't find a place that you actually like and you want to buy.
Right.
Like, it doesn't really help your case at all.
Yeah, that's really where it's ultimately going. I would rather be in the marketplace where there's a lot more choices, and even if values, because right now we're at a place where there's so many homes in the market and still rates are a bit higher, where we could get values coming down a little bit for the rest of the year, and only slightly, but where the inventory is going to go, and then where demand's going to be at the start of the year, that lines up with the spring market. Because this year, these great rates are not lining up with any time that's the best time of the market.
Right.
Missed spring, got the very tail end of summer, but that's so late in summer that a lot of families have already needed to be into pending sale and closed by the time the kids start school. So rates got better by the end of August. Now they're much better in September, but kids are back in school. So this is just the time of year where this is officially the autumn market. It's where demand slowly trickles down. Demand could come up a little bit more if we get rates that come down a little bit, but it's just matching up at a slower time of the year. So it's going to be a much different story come the spring market, and people aren't going to be prepared for it.
Yeah. So I think that people that are in the industry hearing this understand it, they follow, they hopefully agree, right? I think it's really hard for just your typical buyer, though, and I could definitely relate because I purchased my first real estate before I was in lending, and I sat down with a realtor that was a family friend that we trusted and said, is now a good time to buy? Because, me and everybody else, we want to make sure we're getting a deal. We're buying biggest purchase of our lives. We want to make sure we're doing it at the right time and have the right info. She looked at me and said, it's always a good time to buy real estate. And at the time I was like, oh, what a line. But now I think it's usually a pretty good time to buy real estate, right? So, for the realtor or lender that's trying to explain these things to a person, knowing that maybe there's some natural resistance because the consumer may think, oh, you're just a salesperson. You're just trying to feed me this information to put me on a track so that you get paid, right? How would you guide them to have a conversation with someone to really enlighten them on the things we're talking about?
And that's why I do my YouTube videos, and we do our podcasts, and we do these reports. It's to set the record straight and to properly set expectations. That's why we do what we do, because it's very hard, because if you're telling people that this is what the way that it is, and these are truly the expectations of the marketplace, they think like you're puffing. This you just want to sell, and I understand that. But then when you hit them with lots of data and statistics and explain why, and that's what I've just done so far, is explained why it's going to be busier come this year. All has to do with when interest rates are lining up better with the marketplace. It makes logical sense then. And then now they can make a better informed decision based upon properly set expectations, and it's not you just saying it. You got to back up what you're talking about, and you could back up what you're talking about with data and stats. And you need to line yourself up with people that do home analytics. And there aren't that many people like us that reports on housing that do the home analytics piece of it. There's a lot of just black and white data, but we talk about what's going on so that people understand where we're headed based upon the trend analysis that we're seeing, not just throwing the trend analysis at people and then they can distribute it because they don't even know what to do with it.
Right.
Real estate, people don't really necessarily know what to do with it. If we can explain it, you can take whatever trend analysis and then be able to explain where things are headed.
Yeah. I had someone come to the office, first time buyer, and he sits down and goes, well, right now, and this was maybe 6 months ago, but he goes, right now, there's just so many homes on the market. And I think I just was lost for words. Like, are you kidding me? Like, we're at an all-time crunch. There's hardly anything. So it's just a reminder of, the perception that so many people have. It could just be so out of a line. Obviously, you want to find Stephen Thomas reports on housing and have some accurate data. But what are some of just the more known news sources that you think provide more relevant data and people that can actually trust?
Yeah, so National Association of Realtors issues out, and today was the day where they issued out closed sales, which were at expectations, really low. Right now, it's at where the annual is at 3.85 million, which is less than we really want to be at a 4 million mark or higher. We were at 5 million during COVID, so 3.85 is a lot less.
Okay.
And that's one of the things to see the number of units. But on that same day, they actually talked about the listing inventory. Now, this listing inventory that they have goes all the way back to 1982. And so you could actually see where all the year to year where inventory's been. And you could see that even today, our inventory isn't even where it was. It's right now where it was in 2022. So we're higher than 2023. Yes, Mr. First Time Buyer, you are correct. Higher than where we were last year. But even 6 months ago, though, it wasn't quite that much. Now, yes. And but you compare it to 2022, the same. But where we were prior to COVID in 2019, a lot higher. And at the start of 2020, even prior to COVID, that was the lowest level of homes on the market dating back to 1982. And our population is way more. So to have that low of an inventory at the start, we were already in a predicament prior to COVID. COVID made things worse. We still haven't been able to dig our way out of it. Yes, we have more inventory than where we started the year, but we also have these high rates that are going to go away. We've already talked about it. Where do I think interest rates can settle down the road? Like at 4.75%. Does that mean you should wait till then? Well, no way, because the home values are going to go up like crazy from now till then. So I would get in now. And then, like I said before, you do this refinancing. So NAR has that statistic. I know it's the National Association of Realtors. Everybody thinks everybody's biased and they cook the books. And I get all these comments about people cooking the books and governments cooking the books. It's not true. This stuff is static data. It's the same. We know intuitively there are more homes than there were last year, but there's definitely not as many as there were during the Great Recession. If that's what you're hoping for, where there was like 3 homes on the market for every street. So this is, it's way different. So I would go to NAR. There's a lot of different statistics that are out there to watch. As far as housing's concerned, you want people that do housing analytics. And there are some geeky things that you can watch for trend analysis. Risk Media has a lot of stuff that they put up there. And it's just geek things. Housing Wire has a great a lot of data that they throw up there, and they just purchased a company that does data, so they have a lot of data that you can actually follow it to see what's going on with they talk a lot about where inventory is at, how many, where the number of purchase applications are, all the things that go into it. And when you're comparing those over time, you could see, okay, this is where we're at right now, and you can make good decisions based upon all that.
I think that's such a big piece is over time, right?
Right.
Because you want to see the overall trend. And mortgage rates, for example, they could change in the middle of a day, depending on what the market is. So I think it's really hard for just your average consumer to be reading headline news because rates are up, rates are down. And it's like, it's hard to really decipher what that even really means. Because one, a lot of times by the time the paper comes out that they wrote, it's like 4-day-old news, right? And the rates have moved again since then anyway. But up and down from what? right? We talked earlier how the Fed cuts rates and mortgage rates are actually a little bit worse. Yes, they're a little bit worse, but they're still a whole lot better than they were a few
April.
months ago. Yeah, exactly. So it's all relative. I think that it's valuable to look at the bigger data set, right?
Yeah. Yeah, you got to look at it over time. And that's why when the Fed makes these cuts or when they make those increases, matter of fact, when they were going up, 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 usually on the day that they went up, interest rates actually went down for the day. It was funny. It was I think it was 80% of the time when they went up, because they were going up so often, they actually went down for the day. So that's something that a lot of people didn't know. What you have to do is know that they're already interest rates already baked into the equation of where the Fed's most likely going to go. So what you should be looking at is that trend, the trend over time. And economics is slow and boring. And when you're doing trend analysis, that's why people jump to all these conclusions based upon one little data point constantly. It's funny to me because we've been watching these data points every single month. So I know where they've been, where they're going, what it's. So that person that says that there's more inventory than last year, that's such a small data line. I want to see where has it been in time.
Right.
And then when you look at it where it's been in time, you go, well, there's still a problem. Houston, we don't have enough inventory.
Right.
That's what we need to look at is over time. And that's the trend analysis that I'm talking about. A lot of that stuff is what people just don't do. They just don't look at the data far enough back. They look at it year over year. That's good. But I do a lot of like right now, where are we compared to where we were in COVID? 2017, 18, and 19. And I talk about that all the time. And why? Because things were pretty normal prior to COVID.
Yeah.
Since then, they haven't been. So where's inventory at? Where's demand at? Where's closed sales at? How about the number of homes coming on the market? Still way off. Not enough homeowners coming on the market. That type of thing.
Yeah. And talk about the slow and steady thing. Don't get too excited about one report. People have been calling for the Fed to cut for a year plus because, we're at 9, now we're at 4. We can relax on the rates, right? And it's really interesting to see Jerome Powell just go, no, not yet. It's one data point. We're going to keep waiting. We're going to keep waiting. And, now the conversation is, do we wait too long? So it's a big ship. We'll see how he keeps steering it, right?
Sure.
You brought up NAR is a good place to get some data. And that's the other big thing. We're now about a month into the NAR settlement, right?
Sure.
So what have you seen? What do you think we're going to continue to see with the news on agent commissions?
That's funny. I talk to so many agents, and the agents that I often talk to are typically top producers, and they've been able to negotiate more.
Yeah,
that's what I've been hearing. I've been able to negotiate. Wow. So at the end, that part of it's a nothing burger for these top producing agents. Now, for a lot of people, they didn't understand what this all meant. They're very slow. I've actually heard that when they're listing agents, that these buyers don't understand how to even draw up these offers. They knew this was coming for such a long time, and there's a lot of people that are ill prepared. So that we're seeing like this cleansing in the market, and that is of real estate. The population of the people, there's this difference between the haves and the have-nots, where they say 10% of all the agents do 90% of the business, and for a long time I've thought it's been 5% do 95% of the business, and that's kind of what it is. But what it's going to do, it's going to cleanse out. Now, it's not going to be. The barriers to entry are finally here for real estate, because you need to be able to articulate value. It's not just, you should buy right now. You should buy right now. That's not going to do it.
Right.
You have to articulate value. And part of articulating value is knowing your numbers, knowing what's going on with rates, aligning yourself with a team of professionals like yourself to, you have that team behind it, and then you have value that you're bringing that you can articulate to everybody. And I'm going to be able to help not only guide you into purchasing, but explain to you what's going on in the marketplace. And you're going to be working with somebody that's really on the top of rates and everything. They'll be able to explain to you where things are at and what the smart decisions and choices are and all that. So it's just this whole team that will be surrounding you. Not everybody's going to be able to do that.
Yeah, I see a big disparity, working with a lot of different agents and on teams, individuals, so on and so forth. And the bigger teams that are on top of it, they're doing trainings. They're talking about this almost every day, and in their weekly sales training, and this is what we're seeing. This is how this person structured it. They're all over it, right? And we see contracts come across from people that are not all over it. And I agree, it's going to cause a consolidation. A lot of the people that don't have the support, they just were scared and just decided not to play the game at all, right? And I am also seeing what you said, where people are like, oh, well, sellers are used to paying 5 or 6%, so I'm going to just charge 4 now. The buy side can figure it out, whatever they want to do. And then the buy side says, I want 3. So I would agree it's not every transaction, but I am seeing some trend in increase in commission rates for fewer agents. You know, I don't know if we would see it this early, but my other theory on this is that, I mean, the commissions were already baked into the sales price, right? And some contracts I'm seeing that the buyer's paying out of pocket for it, and sometimes they're asking for seller concession. So the more seller concession, what they do is they just put it into the price. So I think if we're having agents with higher commissions and the consumer in their mind, they're like, well, my price was worth this. I don't want to give a concession now because it's lower. So I think it's going to cause prices to go up between those two things.
Well, they were already baked into the equation. Because remember, when
Right.
they purchased their home, they didn't pay a commission. Now that they're selling, they were paying a commission.
Right.
So if we're going to reverse it and say, okay, we're paying a commission on the upside, well, then naturally, yes, they should probably offer less of a purchase price. But they were already paying it, and they're looking at all the comps, and they want what the other people got, and they don't want to have to adjust it. Well, just go ahead and pay the commission, and that's the way the market will figure itself out. And it's the pathway of least resistance. That's the least resistance.
Yeah.
Just continue to do what we were doing before, and there will be the exceptions to all this.
Mhm.
There always have been. There have always been the discount brokers, and they're this, and I can sell your house, and we won't pay a commission on stuff. Well, good. Yeah, there are those that are out there, but you have to look at the level of service that you're going to get. Are you going to be able to get top dollar? There's different things that you have to look at in making that decision as to who you're going to run your home through.
Yeah.
And the team that's set up behind them. So that's going to be very important going forward. And I think it's going to be, at the end of the day, as far as the seller's still going to pay both sides of it, whether it be through the commission and concessions to the buyer that then pays it. So
Yeah.
I think that's the direction it's going.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see the market, if there's a correct itself on the buy side commission, because I think naturally people will say, oh, we'll do a flat fee, or we're going to do 1%, or we're going to do something to incentivize buyers. And then they show a buyer 30 properties and write 15 offers and go, I don't know if this is mathematically feasible to only be
Sure.
doing this for $500 or whatever the fee is going to be. I've seen on the opposite end too, stronger buy side agent, and she said, this is what I want as my commission, and the buyer tried to beat her up to lower the commission amount, because they're always trying to get more. And she said, no, we were started here, and I negotiated my commission to bring the price down here for you. And that was because I wanted what I wanted, my commission, and we have a contract agreeing to that. So I think that there will be a balancing, right? The people at the bottom will realize that, well, I don't know if it's going to be balanced. I think it's going to go up because the people at the bottom realize I need to make more money than whatever I initially thought. And the people that are really skilled are going to say, I can get more for myself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's where the disparity is going to be between the people that understand how to play this game and the other ones that were just trying to get that one deal. Those are the people that are going to really, really struggle in this marketplace. The good news of all this, also, besides this cleansing of the overall real estate industry and a more professional atmosphere, is what I think we're going to ultimately end up with.
Mm-hmm.
Is I remember when I was in, I was a agent representing buyers and sellers, and every year there would be a buyer, one or two, where I'd get burned every single year. Not if I have a contract.
Right.
And now contracts are mandatory. So heck, this just gave them an excuse for locking in buyers. And I love that. You're not going to get burned that 1 or 2 times now like we did before. So This is actually one of the silver linings to this.
Yeah. I think it's similar to what happened with lenders after the Great Recession, because they fixed lending commissions as well, and lenders made more money from it, not less. I really wish lenders could get an agreement, because so often people shop you in the 11th hour, and you need to protect the consumer, because unfortunately there are lenders out there that don't act in the best faith.
Yes,
but
exactly.
But that is another thought. It's like, yeah, if you're under contract and you're showing people, at least in the 11th hour, our Aunt Dawn isn't gonna write up the contract and you're out.
Yeah. And the whole thing that's going on right now with this the changing of all the contracts, it reminds me of TRID. That happened in 2000. my brain doesn't quite work. I think it's 2015, 2014. TRID was when they had to do all this front all this disclosures for lending, which you guys all do. So everything has to be in black and white and giant fonts, and you have to put out these disclosures first, and then they can opt not to go with things. And there's that was a big change. And I remember lenders, they were upset. They were up in arms over this. Yeah. And at the end of the day, it ended up being a nothing burger as well.
Right.
So they figured it out. It did affect closed sales for a month because things took longer to close, and there's all these problems because you had to do it during a certain time frame and things. But everybody figured it out.
Yeah. I got into the industry when all that was in place, so it's all that I really know. But
yes,
every once in a while you do a hard money loan or something that doesn't have the TRID compliance, and you're like, oh yeah, if every deal was like this, it would be a whole lot easier. I will say it is really nice to have a standard loan estimate that looks just like a closing disclosure.
Sure.
Because at the very least, it helps me help people decipher what offers they're getting, right? Because so many times, I had this case last year where they said, oh, this lender is going to give me, we'll call it $8,000 in credit. And it's like, okay, well, send me the loan estimate, formal document. I'm going to give you the same thing. And they did. They gave $8,000 in credit over here, but they also charged like 19 grand over here. So being somebody that looks at them every day, it made it really easy for me to help the client to show them like, no, this is the deal you're actually getting. And here's the net number. Right.
That's important. That's important. And that's where it's going. It's more transparency.
Yeah.
You can imagine without that, what it was like before. And then all the unscrupulous things that were going on with teaser rate, more adjustable mortgages and all the subprime and no look loans and 0% down. And values were going up so quickly, and there's no real disclosures. They didn't even know what they were getting themselves into, most of the general public. So something needed to be done, and they fixed it.
Yeah. Yeah, they did. So, oh my gosh, we've been chatting a while. So what final thoughts? What do you think we're going to see in the upcoming months here? And any advice for both agents as well, people, the consumer that are looking to buy or sell?
Yeah, it's like what we talked about before. Is this a good time to buy, Stephen? I would actually a lot of times say good time to buy. I've been saying it now for a couple of years. Good time to buy. Have I been wrong? Values have gone up. Rates have gone down. So if you were stuck in April and you purchased something, and even after I said it's a good time to buy, rates have come down more than 1%. You can already refinance, and you're already sitting in a much better spot, saving hundreds of dollars a month, and you locked in your value of your home. You can afford your payment. And that's the whole thing. You have to actually justify being able to fit it into your family budget. It's not 70% of the mortgage, the monthly payments going to 70% of your income's going to exhaust the monthly mortgage payment. You've got to make sure it works in your family budget. And then after that, pull the trigger, get into home ownership, hold it the long run, and know that it's just a remarkable investment for you, and not to wait, because for the rest of the year, we don't know. Rates can come down a little bit more. And then you go, shoot, rates came down a little bit more. Or we could get these job prints where it goes the other direction and rates go up a little bit. We don't know. I know what's going on right now today.
Yes.
Interest rates just right above 6%. And a lot of inventory out there. So if I was out there, this is when I would pull the trigger.
Yeah. It's like statistically, the number of years of real estate where we've had decline versus the number of years where there's been appreciation in home value, it's like 99 to 1, right? It's maybe not quite that much, but it is heavily weighed on the side where you have appreciation year over year. So just if you're rolling the dice, know that the odds are in your favor, right? Because there is no perfect prediction.
Yeah, it's pretty much the Great Depression and the Great Recession were the two times where we really had peeling off of home values. And then now people think that home values should go down again because I say so. My gut says it's unaffordable, and things are unaffordable.
They're due to come down.
It's due. It has to come down.
Yeah.
I would rather pray for rates to come down to those the 4.5% level, because that's what you need. You need that crash in rates.
Yeah.
Because there's not a lot of homeowners that are going to give up their low fixed mortgage for what? go purchase something else, maybe a higher fixed rate mortgage, or go rent. Well, they're locked in, and I'm pretty sure that their monthly mortgage amount is less than what their home would rent for. So that there's not a lot of people that are forced to sell. There's not going to be a lot out there, so we're going to be dealing with this inventory issue for quite some time.
Yeah, I mean, really, the people that I've seen that are walking away from 2.5% rates, because it does happen, but there's a large family reason, right? Their dream house that they've always wanted comes on the market. And it's to what we've been talking about. It's always personal reasons, right?
Sure.
You know, this house is too small for the 5 kids that they now have, and those types of reasons. So I don't, not everybody is going to look at it as a purely financial situation. So some of the 2 and 3% will free up, but yeah, I agree. The lower the rates come, the more affordable it's going to be for those people to move on to what their life needs next.
Exactly. And they're waiting. And there's a lot of people say, well, once rates get into the 5s, I'm going.
Yeah.
And there's even a subset that say when they get in the 4s. So that just shows you that there'll be more sellers down the road for sure. So know that will come. And there are some cases I've heard people, I'm retiring, I'm moving to Tennessee. Okay. I'm doing it. There's all these personal reasons like what you talked about. So there will always be, and we're having more homes come on the market this year than last year, even though there are a similar number of people locked in. So that tells me that people are just tired of waiting, because it's been over 2 years, August of 2022, when rates were last in the 5s. So people are going, I'm tired of waiting.
Yeah. Well, thanks for coming on. It's been fun.
Bet.
Yeah.
Thanks.